Hello, this is Beth Coughlin. Thank you for joining me with today's Spirit Share, where I share inspired spirit awareness through signs, synchronicities, dreams, inspirational writings, photography, and nature, just to name a few. It's my hope that these spirit shares help awaken your wisdom within, validating the limitless spirit that we all are. Good morning, and thank you for joining me for this week's Spirit Share. And this week's Spirit Share is challenging for me because it's kind of like a double-edged sword, because I'm talking about my journey with breast cancer, a part of the journey, and the incredible signs that I did receive from Spirit. And I want to share them with you to hopefully encourage other people who are going through their own dark times, and how this is a way to lift us up when we need the encouragement. And so today's Spirit Share is called Pink Hope, Guidance in Chaos. You know, when you just know, well, I knew. And how did I know that I knew? Was because I kept moving around my mammogram reminder letter all around my kitchen to hide my feeling of knowing. I just kept moving it around. And so it took me 3 months to finally call the hospital and make that appointment. And I did it to quiet my mind and prove myself wrong, that I was just being silly, thinking this was a problem. But when the day finally arrived, and I had my appointment, the radiologists informed me that they had found, indeed, some unusual clusters. This is no big deal, is what they said. Quick biopsy and it would all be sorted out. Right, was what I was thinking. Because I still had that feeling deep down that something was off, and it just kind of lingered in the room like bad perfume when they were talking to me. And I was like, I just don't think this is right. So a week later, I was to have a prone stereotactic biopsy guided through ultrasound. Now, prone stereotactic, what is that? Exactly. Words like that are meaningless before biopsies. Then you get an appointment like that, and suddenly you're online trying to figure out what the heck any of that means. But regardless, what happens during a prone stereotactic biopsy is you are prone, you are lying on a table with your breasts dangling through a hole in the table, while they position your breast until they find the image they need to do the biopsy. So I'm sure this was definitely probably invented by the man, because there's no way a woman would do it this way. And that's probably why it's evolved now to a chair, which down the road was a procedure I was able to have in a chair. But this moment I was in the prone style. And while I was lying on the table, I was very emotional, and I started to, tear up, and it was very painful. And all of a sudden, in the midst of this stress, I felt a huge, huge presence in front of me. It was kind of hard to describe. It was like an energetic force, but it felt very angelic at the same time. And somehow, as it began to take shape in my awareness, I knew it was a huge angel, and I knew that it was Archangel Raphael. I just felt certain that that's who it was. And my knowing also assured me that Raphael would not let them find the area they needed to do the biopsy, for reasons at the moment were beyond my comprehension. But I just felt like he was blocking them from finding it. And for some reason, I was okay with that. I was just in agreement, total agreement with Raphael. And 45 minutes later, my prediction from Raphael came true, and they were unable to do the biopsy as they could not get the correct image on the screen. So the radiologist looked at me and said, if you were my mom, I would want to give this another try. And we can through a regular ultrasound. My first thought was, wow, I'm old enough to be her mom. But of course, I was grateful for the second college try and the second option. So they brought me into another ultrasound room where the technician worked to find the calcification. So as I was staring at the monitor as she's looking for this, I suddenly again felt a presence, like an energetic force. You know, it kind of feels like a pull. But this time I had the awareness that this was my long, long deceased grandparents, Bob and Muriel. So in my mind, I pleaded to them for help. I thought maybe they could bring a doctor from the spirit side who they knew could help me, especially since they both had died of cancer decades ago. Perhaps their doctor was nearby in spirit. So to the average person, this request may sound crazy, but my work as a medium and my deep faith in spirit held my certainty that they heard me. And suddenly the technician began tapping away at the keyboard, and she found something, indeed, and I could see it on the screen. Is wild. It looked like a tiny, angry pumpkin. It's the best way for me to describe it. And it just kept moving around. She called in the radiologist, and she really struggled to get a hold of this for the biopsy, so they had to call in another radiologist. And 10 tries later, they finally were able to get the samples, the two radiologists. And then they informed me I had to now go across the hall for another procedure, and this time it was a mammogram to see if they indeed had biopsied the calcification they were looking for. So, after that fun procedure, I waited in a small, dimly lit room for the doctor. The radiologist came back after truly what felt like an eternity, and she looked at me and said, well, I have some good news and I have some bad news. The good news is we found something. The bad news is we still didn't get the calcification biopsied. So you will have to come back for another biopsy. So, in shock, I walked out of the room and left the hospital, and in my mind, I just have all these questions. I'm like, what does this mean? What else did they find? What was this angry-looking pumpkin on the screen? So, as I walked out to my car, I suddenly just stopped in my tracks when I got close to my car, because as someone who's very aware of spirit and signs and synchronicities and all of that, I'm always aware of numbers and symbols that show up in our environment. And all of a sudden I see the two license plates near my car. Now these two license plates were exactly next to each other, and you will see them in the video. The first was on a truck, and it was 777. And then next to that was another license plate that said, "Let it be." Now, I was like, oh my God. Because at the moment, I didn't know where to put my emotions. And so it was almost as if the spirit world was saying, put your emotions, we've got you, put your emotions in, letting everything be as it is. So for me, and this is why I always say it's so great to come up with your own language and your own toolbox. It's very important that it's your own language and your own toolbox, because your own soul already knows that language. So whenever I see 777, I know my angels are wanting me to know they are supporting me. So for it to be 777 and then just having come from that room and experiencing Raphael, Archangel Raphael, I was like, indeed, my angels are here. It was like a validation for me. And then to see Let It Be, it was just incredible, because it was like, of all those things for Spirit to share, let it be meant so much because it was an answer to all of these swirling questions in my mind. They were saying, let it be as it is, put it aside, we've got this. No matter what the outcome is, we've got your back. And so this brought such a sense of calmness over me, and I just realized how divinely guided I truly am. And quite frankly, how divinely guided we all are. When we stop and pay attention, this is why I'm sharing this, you start to see how divinely guided and supported we all are when we're in this incarnation. And so when I drove out of the parking lot, I passed another license plate that said Huggie, Huggie. Oh my God. So yes, thank you. I embrace this hug from Spirit. Just amazing. Then I'm driving and I'm about halfway home. And if it couldn't get any weirder and wilder, a gray car with a New Hampshire license plate goes whizzing by. So obviously I couldn't get a picture of it. But the license plate was Nana-D. Are you kidding me? Now what's crazy about this is my Nana, who passed away over 30 years ago, who I was very close to growing up, and if anyone's read my stories on my website, know our relationship. Her last name from her second marriage when she passed away was Dismaris, which is a D. So Nana-D, oh my God, seriously? I mean, I've been alive, let's just say, almost 50 years, and I have never seen that before. And now suddenly here we are in this moment of crisis, and I see Nana-D whizzing by. Again, this is just incredibly amazing. And it was this river of love just kind of engulfed my body, knowing that I am supported. So after all of these tests, next up was the waiting. Okay. So now after I had that first biopsy, I had to wait. So as anyone who's been through these kind of waiting games, that's kind of the hardest part. Having the appointment and going to it, yes, it's difficult, but it's the waiting and the anticipation of what these tests are going to say that is painfully difficult. And so what happened was on the 5th day of wondering about the biopsy, I went to Whole Foods with my sister. And as I was walking across the parking lot, I spotted, and I can't make this up, I spotted a pink rubber band bracelet that's the breast cancer symbol, right, on it, and it said hope. I was just so shocked that I left it on the ground. Even me, who's been doing these signs for years, was shocked. I just couldn't believe it. And a part of me, I think, was scared to pick it up, like, because I didn't know, like, does this mean they're supporting me because it's bad? Like, what is this all about, right? So I know it was my fear, too, that held me back from picking it up. And so when I came out of Whole Foods and I went back to my car, I realized that I had actually, while I was in Whole Foods, had missed a call from the hospital. So when I called them back, there was no answer. So 4 hours go by, and I'm back at my house, and I'm sitting in my kitchen next to the window, and the nurse, the oncology nurse, calls me back. And what does she say? I get that line again. Well, we have some good news, and we have some bad news. What would you like to hear first? And me being me said, the bad. Well, she sighed. You know, that mystery lump that they found, it's cancer. But here's the good news. The good news, it was caught very, very early. And it's fascinating to us because both radiologists said she must have had an angel watching over her because this tumor was not on her mammogram. Had she not had that second ultrasound, it would have never been caught. And eventually, when it was caught, we would be having a different conversation. How about that, she says to me. we all feel you had an angel watching over you. I was in such a shock that she was talking about the angel, because I said to myself, oh my God, you have no idea how much I know there was an angel watching over me. In fact, I felt it was Archangel Raphael and the ancestors. But I said this all to myself because in that moment, in my humanness, I was trying to wrap my head around what she was saying. I was trying to wrap my head around the fact that it was cancer. I was trying to wrap my head around the fact that there was an angel in the room, and now she's talking about an angel, and I just was blown away. So she went on to explain that I needed to have another biopsy to determine if the calcifications were also cancerous, and an MRI. So 2 days later, I was set up to see a surgeon to discuss all my options, regardless of the road ahead and all of the things that go along with having this kind of a diagnosis. And as I hung up the phone, I looked out the window and I saw a hawk circling my front yard. The hawk for me is my protector, and anytime I'm feeling good, bad, whatever, doesn't matter, I just see him. It's like my angel incarnated, you know? It's like there's my person guiding me, comforting me. I just love the hawk. So to see that was so cool. So 2 days later, I went to Whole Foods again. I know I go there a lot. So I go to Whole Foods again, and when I jumped out of my car, now I cannot make this up, and you just have to go with me on this, but I know it was because I was in a critical time in my life, and I was being incredibly inspired, that I couldn't believe my eyes. But when I opened my car door, not my passenger side, my car door, the pink rubber bracelet with the words hope on it was on the parking lot ground. Boom. There it was. I was so floored. Not only was it still there 2 days later, but now I had parked next to it. So I picked it up off the ground this time, and you're not escaping, I'm saying to myself, and I stuffed hope right in my pocket, because now hope was coming home with me. And I looked up at the sky and I said, thank you to everyone. Thank you for sending me hope when I desperately needed it. Thank you for sharing your inspiration and your love and your support. And then when I got home, I looked out my window and I saw 2 hawks that were flying around in my backyard. And I did get a quick video that I'll add with this before I got one of them in the video before it flew away. Now, in the end, I would have a total of 3 biopsies, 2 coming back positive with cancer, leading for me to decide to have a double mastectomy with reconstruction. And this was 2 years ago, this Christmas season. So now it's 2021, so this is 2 years ago. And, you know, when I look back, like throughout the surgery and process, I truly had a sense of peace. And I know that peace came from the certainty that I had that I would be supported. And this is the key part, no matter what the outcome was. And this allowed me to accept my situation and focus on my healing. The way I like to explain this, friends who know me know I love my visuals. The way I like to explain spirit supporting us, it's like this. Spirit is like our parents or our family or our friends on the sidelines watching us play our favorite sport. So imagine you're out there playing soccer or baseball, and your people are watching you play this game. Well, it's really the game of life, truly. Anyways, sometimes they're cheering loudly, you're doing something great and they're just cheering you, woo, great job. Other times, they're just sitting there quietly observing on the sidelines. And then there are those times, when things are really difficult, they're not just sitting up in the bleachers. They're down there on the sidelines cheering us through difficulty. Come on, pick it up. You can do it, right? Think about it. The key is to remember that no matter what's going on, they are with us. regardless of how strongly we sense their presence. Because sometimes they're just up there in the bleachers and we think, oh, where are they, right? But it's just like that game, that them watching a game. They are truly with us. It's just where we are in our journey, and how strongly we sense their presence is up to us. However, the reality is, the truth is, they are truly always with us. And so as I close with this, I just want to share that Spirit has taught me that when I surrender to the knowing that all is well, regardless of the outcome. See, that's the key part. Regardless of the outcome. I'm not tying it to whether I'm getting to be good or it's going to be bad. It's just when I surrender to the knowing that all is well. We know for a fact that we are all spirit, and we are loved, and we are supported, and so I let it be. Thank you for taking this journey with me today, and may you all have a blessed day. And in your times when things are really dark, remember that metaphor of the bleachers and the sidelines and the cheering, that they're always with us in the game of life. It's just our awareness to it and knowing that we are loved and supported no matter what the outcome is. And so let it be. Thank you. For more information about my work and what I have to offer, please visit my website, elizabethcoughlin.com, where you can subscribe to my Facebook and YouTube channels and stay in touch for more spirit shares. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it.